Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Shane with the Guys at Magic, and today I'm joined by Hunter. Hunter, say what's up.
What's up?
You have something special for us today. We have no more precons, but we do have a secret lair, and we're going to be upgrading that, right? From cute to brute.
Yeah, so from Cute to Brute, that is the newest Precon deck from the Secret Lair series. They did a flipping coin one, but now they're doing the flipping cards one. This is all about kind of flipping from the cute side to the more aggressive side. So from cute to brute,
That's so cute, dude.
isn't it just?
Well, I know a lot of people and the internet as a whole aren't quite sure what to do with this deck. So before we get into your additions, let's just go over the commander and talk about what it does, Hunter.
Yeah, so for this commander, they gave us Esika, God of the Tree. It is 1 and 2 green for a 1/4 legendary creature god. It has Vigilance. As an ability, we can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. And it also says other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. It's very awesome, very cool to give all of your legendary creatures the ability to be mana dorks, allowing you to cast bigger spells later in the game. However, you can play it as the other side of the card, which is a legendary enchantment called the Prismatic Bridge. It is a white, blue, black, red, and green. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, what I'm doing for this deck is we are going after that legendary enchantment, the Prismatic Bridge. We want to cast giant things for free off of the top of our deck. What better way to do it than the Prismatic Bridge staying in your command zone? It's a great little way to cheat things in. But as far as this deck goes, it is all over the place. A lot of people have been saying online to go ahead and just take out all of the cards that they gave you and just put them in other decks because they really didn't know how to synergize this deck at all. There's a lot of Innistrad cards, a lot of like day night cycle from that set, a lot of different cards from Strixhaven that are the Deans. It just is all over the place. There's not really any synergy. So for this video, I'm trying to just tighten it up just the best I can while also giving you some awesome cards to play with. What I want to do with the theme of the deck is just kind of make it into a legendary tribal theme. So we're going to have a lot of legendary creatures in this deck, some other planeswalkers, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right. There's not really a clear direction here. So why don't we just dive into your additions and tell me what the heck we're doing with this deck, Hunter?
Yeah, so first and foremost, when I'm looking at this deck, besides Esika, God of the Tree, there really isn't any mana dorks at all. In a 5-color deck like this, we need all the colors we can get. So as far as the mana dorks are concerned, I threw in the 3 that I felt like are the best when it comes to 5-color. That is Birds of Paradise, Ornithopter of Paradise, and Bloom Tender. Birds of Paradise, 1 green mana for a 0/1 creature bird. It's got flying. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Ornithopter of Paradise is 2 generic mana for a 0/2 artifact creature Thopter. It's got flying. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. And Bloom Tender is 1 and a green for a 1/1 creature elf druid. You can tap it for each color among permanents you control. Add 1 mana of that color. So if Bloom Tender is in later in the game and we have a 5-color thing out, we can add 5 colors.
That seems really good, dude. These are solid choices for trying to make any color mana, especially in the 5 color, like you said. These are much needed. I can't believe they're running the deck.
Yeah, it surprises me just how unorganized the deck was.
Well, you mentioned you're doing a legendary tribal theme. What are some legendaries you're throwing in?
Yeah, well, I wanted to add some things that we can cast as well as stick to the theme that they wanted to do, and that was the from cute to brute. So we are kind of playing around with that whole we can flip it to the other side of the card. So first and foremost, we got Vorinclex in the deck. It is 3 and 2 green for a 6/6 legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor. It's got trample and reach. It says when it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 forest cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Also has another ability. We can pay 6 and 2 green to exile Vorinclex and then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. When it is transformed, it turns into the Grand Evolution, is an enchantment saga. Its first lore counter says, mill 10 cards, put up to 2 creature cards from among the milled cards onto the battlefield. So that's for free. The second lore counter is distribute 7 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. And the third and final lore counter says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain Pay 1. This creature fights target creature you don't control. Exile the Grand Evolution, then return it to the battlefield, flipped back face up into Vorinclex. So Vorinclex is an awesome brand new Praetor from March of the Machine, where you can go ahead and get 2 forests and put them in your hand so you can always hit those land drops. It doesn't say basic, so you can go ahead and get anything of a land that says forest on it. So there is a couple other cards in here that are forest mountains or plain forests, stuff like that. But when you flip it to the Grand Evolution, we're doing exactly what the Prismatic Bridge wants to do, which is put free creatures onto the battlefield. So any other legendaries that we might have milled, those 10, throw it on the battlefield, and then distributing those 7 counters on any creatures you want to make them even bigger, and then just basically you have removal on a creature for that last little lore counter.
I do like the previous Vorinclex, but I can see how this one fits pretty nicely into the deck.
Yeah, like I said, keeps us going with those cards that we need, different colors. Speaking of Praetors, we're also adding the new Shieldred. It is 3 and 2 black for a 4/5 legendary creature for Phyrexian Praetor. It's got Menace, and it says when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. Also has another ability to pay 4 and a black to exile Shieldred, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery and only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. When it is transformed, it turns into the True Scriptures. It is a enchantment saga. The first lore counter says for each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Second lore counter says each opponent discards 3 cards, then mills 3 cards. And the third and final lore counter says put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, exile the True Scriptures, and then return it to the battlefield back up, face up as Shieldred. This is a fantastic card in EDH because it
It's
says
nuts.
all of those, each player, each opponent. It's just wild.
Yeah, this is too much removal and recursion on one card. This is crazy, and it's gonna go great in your deck.
Yeah, this legendary is a bomb. If we flip this over with Prismatic Bridge for free, watch out.
Yeah,
And another flip card that I'm sticking to it. This is Itali Primal Conqueror. It is 5 and 2 red for a 7/7 legendary creature, Elder Dragon. It has trample. It says when Itali Primal Conqueror enters the battlefield, each player exiles from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Has another ability, we can pay 9 and a green Phyrexian to transform Itali, activate only as a sorcery. When it's transformed, it turns into Itali Primal Sickness. It is an 11/11 legendary creature Phyrexian Elder Dinosaur. It's got trample and indestructible, and it says whenever Itali Primal Sickness deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. So if I flip over Itali off of the Prismatic Bridge, boom. If you're playing in a 4-player pod, guess what? We are all exiling until we hit a non-land card, and I get to cast every single one for free. So hopefully I get some really cool things off of that.
yeah. I don't think this is ever a good thing for your opponents. I feel like you're always gonna get something pretty nutty off of this, dude. And then if you flip it, this card can get out of hand, and I believe you'll be probably the biggest target at the table.
Yeah, it's basically Blightsteel Colossus.
Yeah,
Just one hit with poison counter. You're 10 poison, you're dead.
yeah. Well, those are some pretty mean legendary creatures. Show me some more legendary creatures.
Absolutely. So here's some legendary help. The first one, Joda the Unifier. It is a white, blue, black, red, green for a 5/5 legendary creature human wizard. It says legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So very similar to the Prismatic Bridge, we get to cast things for free. Well, it's like a little cascade for legendaries.
Legendary Cascade, man, seems really good.
Yeah, and we just grow each other with +X/+X, where X is the number of legendaries. It is insane. It gets big very fast. If you want to find Jodo the Unifier, then get Captain Sisay. The original Captain Sisay is 2, a green, and a white for a 2/2 creature legend. You can tap it to search your library for a legend or legendary card, reveal that card and put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So go ahead, tap it, go and find whatever legendary card you want, reveal it, and put it in your hand.
A tutor on a stick, dude.
Tutor
Nothing
on
can
a
go wrong with
stick.
this.
Not at all. And another one we're adding in here is Kethis, the Hidden Hand. It is a white, black, and green for a 3/4 legendary creature Elf Advisor. Legendary spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And you can exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard. Until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains you may play this card from your graveyard. So, making things cheaper as well as a little bit of recursion.
Giving all your creatures kind of like a pseudo escape cost.
Yeah, man. I'm also adding Shanid Sleeper's Scourge. It is 1, a red, a white, and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature human knight. It's got Menace. It says other legendary creatures you control have Menace. And whenever you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, you draw a card and lose a life. So we're doing a lot with legendaries here. Giving them Menace is just even better.
This is legendary keyword soup, dude.
Of course, man. We're going legendary tribal, baby. Shalai, Voice of Plenty, is going to help here too. It's 3 and a white for a 3/4 legendary creature angel. It's got flying. It says you, planeswalkers you control, and other creatures you control have hexproof. Has another ability. We can pay 4 and 2 green to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So we're protecting the team, and you're protecting yourself, and we can grow the team later.
Those all seem like very solid things to protect, bud.
It is very much so.
All right, you showed me some cool legendary creatures. Is there anything else legendary we're throwing in here?
Yeah, man. So, like the Prismatic Bridge says, we could go ahead and just cast a creature or planeswalker for free off if we hit it, and we're throwing in more planeswalkers. So, Dehada, Binder of Wills, is going to the deck. It is 1, a red, a white, and a black for starting loyalty of 5. It has a +2 ability that says up to 1 target legendary creature gains Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible until your next turn. Has a -3 ability that says reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Create a treasure token for each card put into your graveyard this way. And its ultimate, which is a -11, says gain control of all non-land permanents until end of turn. Untap them. They gain haste until end of turn. The ultimate's very cool, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it very often. But that +2 to give a legendary creature vigilance, lifelink, and indestructible to your next turn is a fantastic ability since we're a legendary theme.
Yeah, that's seems like a no-brainer if you're going legendary travel.
Also throwing in Kaya the Inexorable. It is 3, a white and a black for a starting loyalty of 5. It's got a +1 that says put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile. Return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Has a -3 where you can exile target non-land permanent, and a -7 which is its ultimate that says you get an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep you may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost. So, Kaya, once again, is a fantastic include into our Legendary Matter 5-color deck. This not only protects our legendary cards, so if they die or they go to exile, bounce them back to your hand if they have that ghost form counter. It has the removal on a stick, essentially, to exile a target non-land permanent, so you can hit more than just creatures. And if you do get that emblem, it is so, so good. That is for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't want to say game ending, but I feel like if somebody in your pod gets that emblem, you're pretty sad.
Yep, because exiling creatures no longer does anything. You can cast things from
Yeah,
exile.
yeah. All right, cool. Well, I saw a bunch of legendary creatures and legendary spells, but this is a 5-color deck. So are you adding anything in the ramp variety?
Yeah, so there was only one ramp card in this whole deck, which is absolutely insane. Only added Farseek into the deck, and I was like, excuse me, this is 5-color. We're gonna need some more ramps. So not only did we throw in the tutors, but we're also adding in these ones. First up, a new battle. This is Invasion of Zendikar. It is 3 and a green for a battle siege. It's got 3 defender counters. says when it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Once the battle is defeated, it turns into Awakened Skyclave. It is a 4/4 creature elemental that's got vigilance and haste. It says as long as Awakened Skyclave is on the battlefield, it's a land in addition to its other types. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So, not only is this a fantastic ramp card, getting you 2 colors that you might have needed, but sticks on theme to that from cute to brute because it flips into a creature.
Yeah, it's a cute land, and then it flips into a brute creature.
Yeah. And of course, we're adding Cultivate into the deck because why was it in the deck in the beginning? It is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put one on the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand. Shuffle. Go and get the colors you need.
Pretty straightforward, pretty straightforward. What about anything in the removal package?
Yeah, so I looked at all the removal and I said they can all be upgraded. They really didn't go ahead and add the best removal in the game, so I did. Swords to Plowshares. 1 white mana for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Path to Exile. 1 white mana for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller may search the library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And I'm also throwing in just a basic Wrath of God. It is 2 and 2 white for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. You will see later in the video my removal. We just upgraded the removal package.
Yeah, Swords to Plowshare and Path to Exile. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you're running 5 colors. Why wouldn't you throw in the 2 best ones?
Well, we saw legendary creatures, we saw planeswalkers, we saw ramp, we saw instants. What about artifacts?
Yep, throwing in 2 artifacts to wrap up the additions. This is Relic of Legends, 3 generic mana for an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. It's just a static ability. So essentially, it's like Esika, where you can have all of your legendary creatures become mana dorks. It's fantastic. Hero's Podium is also going in here. It's 5 generic mana for a legendary artifact. It says each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. And another ability where you can pay X, tap it, look at the top X cards of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So very similar to Joda, we're pumping the team with the team.
Seems synergistic, man. Trying to get
That's
some
what we're
legendaries, huh?
that's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to have things have a little bit more synergy in the deck itself.
All right, well, is that all your additions?
It is. I know normally when we do these upgrades, we kind of touch on the land package. However, believe it or not, the lands in this deck are the best part of the entire deck. You have, because it's called From Cute to Brute, you've got every single pathway in the deck already a banger. And you have tricolor lands in the deck. Fantastic. You have dual color lands in the deck. Also amazing. So you could go out and purchase even more expensive shocks, fetches, and things like that. But I really wanted to just kind of tune the deck itself and not the land base.
Yeah, makes sense. If it already had a functioning 5-color land base, then maybe in the 300. All right, well, we're doing the part where you gotta cut stuff to make room for all the fun stuff. So you go through and tell me what you're cutting to make room for all this stuff.
Yeah, so we are cutting from cute to brute. I apologize. We are kind of cutting a bit of those cards because I don't think they're that good. So first one, we're getting rid of Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, 1 and 2 red for a 2/2 legendary creature human shaman. Says whenever you cast a red spell, untap Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. You can tap this to have it deal 1 damage to target player. If Chandra has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. When it's transformed, it turns into Chandra Roaring Flame, a planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 4. Has a +1 that says it deals 2 damage to target player, a -2 that says it deals 2 damage to target creature, and a -7 that says it deals 6 damage to each opponent. Each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 3 damage to you. I love the backside of this card, but to get to the backside of this card, I have to deal 3 damage. And I need to cast red spells to make this untap so I can at least try to get that 3 damage. I know you can attack and get that 2, and then if you have a red spell, you can untap it, do the 1 more damage. Sure. But in a world of 5 color, this seemed better in a red deck matters.
Yeah, I can see that.
We're also getting rid of Jace Vern's Prodigy. It's 1 and a blue for a 0/2 legendary creature human wizard. As an ability, we can tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace Vern's Prodigy, then return him to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Once he's transformed, he turns into Jace Telepath Unbound. It is a planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 5. Has a +1 ability that says up to 1 target creature gets -2, -0 until your next turn. A -3 that says you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. And a -9 that says you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So the backside of this, Jace, Telepath Unbound, really cares about casting instants and sorceries, and also a little bit of a mill theme at the end there. Our deck wants to do none of that, so this was a really easy to get rid of.
They just put it in there from cute to brute. That's it, I think.
Cute to brute, man. It goes Jace into Planeswalker. We're also getting rid of Tovalar's Huntmaster. It is 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 creature human werewolf. It says when it enters the battlefield, create 2/2 green wolf creature tokens. It's got daybound. So if it is daytime, this is what it turns into. But if it was nighttime, it comes in as Tovalar's pack leader. It is a 7/7 creature werewolf. It says when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you can create 2/2 green wolf creature tokens. And another ability that says you can pay 2 and 2 green. Another target wolf or werewolf you control fights target creature you don't control. Yeah, we don't have a lot of wolves and werewolves in the deck. So he's making another target, which would be one of these 2/2 tokens. I just don't think it's that powerful. Entering to make 2/2s, we could do better things. You've seen it. We added
Yep,
better things.
very much.
Voldaren Pariah is getting the axe. It is 3 and 2 black for a 3/3 creature vampire horror. It's got flying. Has the ability we could sacrifice 3 other creatures to transform it. And it has a madness of 3. When it is transformed, it turns into Abolisher of Bloodlines. It is a 6/5 creature Eldrazi vampire. It's got flying. It says when it transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. The backside's really cool, but I don't want to sacrifice 3 of my creatures to transform this, so this is going away.
Yeah, doesn't really fit your theme.
Doesn't fit my theme. And if you notice the last 2 cards, they're not legendary either, so. But these ones are, and they are not good enough. Next is Cosima, God of the Voyage. It is 2 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature god. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, and draw X cards, where X is the number of voyage counters on it. Or you can play it as a vehicle, the Almond Keel. It is 1 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary artifact vehicle. It says whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled with a crew of 1. So the front half of Cosima of God of the Voyage is a very slow. Eventually, you'll come in with more counters depending on how many lands you play, and
Hmm.
you can draw cards. And the Almond Keel, guess what, is the only vehicle in the entire deck. So, do you want to do that for this? I don't know. That's going to be a no from me.
I'm gonna say no.
Ludwig Necrogenius is a blue and a black for a 2/3 legendary creature human wizard. It says when it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. You can pay X, 2 blue, 2 black, exile X creature cards from your graveyard, transform Ludwig, X can't be 0, activate only as a sorcery. When it is transformed, it turns into Olag Ludwig's Hubris. It is a 4/4 legendary creature zombie. It says as this creature transforms into Olag Ludwig's Hubris, it becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag Ludwig's Hubris. It's a 4/4, and it's a legendary blue-black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. There's a lot going on with this card. I don't know why they had to include every single bit of text there. Could have just said it's a copy of it. Whatever. But I tell you what, we don't want to mill ourselves, nor do we want to exile any of our stuff. So this card is not going to make it into the final cut.
Yeah, I don't like that this card seems kinda complicated, and you don't wanna do what it wants you to do, so get it out of there, dude.
Get it out, get it gone. It is out of here. Now, on the non-flip creature cards, we are getting rid of some of these ones. Diluvian Primordial is 5 and 2 blue for a 5/5 creature avatar. It's got flying. It says when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, you may cast up to one target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a card cast this way would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. If I have this in my hand for 7 mana, I'm staying until something's good in the graveyard. If I flip this with Prismatic Bridge and there's nothing in the graveyard, I am sad. So this card is not coming into the deck at all, and I do not know why it was included.
I don't know, man.
Another 7 mana card is Meteor Golem. 7 mana for a 3/3 artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. This gets cut out of every single one of my decks. It doesn't matter if you can play it for free from the Prismatic Bridge. Killing one thing for 7 mana is not it.
Nope.
Sandstone Oracle, also 7 generic mana for a 4/4 artifact creature Sphinx. It's got flying, and it says when it enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. If that player has more cards in hand than you, draw cards equal to the difference. I would hope I hit this off Prismatic Bridge, because if it's in my hand, I don't want to cast this. And all of the 3 of these creatures are not legendary, so they do not fit on theme either.
Get him out of here.
Get them gone. Moving on, we have Butcher of Malakir. It is 5 and 2 black for a 5/4 creature vampire warrior. It's got flying. It says when Butcher of Malakir or another creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. That is an amazing ability, and I see this a lot when it comes to the aristocrat strategy, except we are not an aristocrat strategy. So we're kind of just hoping that our opponents have creatures when our stuff dies.
Yeah.
Rise the Redeem is either a green or a white for a 1/1 legendary creature elf warrior. It has an ability we can pay 2, a green or a white. Tap it, put a 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature token into play. Has another ability you can pay 4, a green or a white, and a green or a white. And tap it. For each creature token you control, put a token into play that's a copy of that creature. This is a very powerful card when it comes to the token strategy, but we are not that strategy. We are getting rid of some other cards coming up right here that also make tokens. So this one was an easy cut. Imara, Soul of the Accord, a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature elf cleric. It says when it becomes tapped, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. That is not doing enough for me. And if I hit this with the Prismatic Bridge, I am a sad boy.
You are definitely sad.
Droyal Monvuli Recluse is 1 and a green for a 1/2 legendary creature human druid. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 green cat creature token. Also pay 4 and 2 green until the end of turn. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand. We're not really doing the whole bunch of card draw strategy here, so we're not going to be making that many cats. So this is a card that I felt didn't need to be put in the deck.
Agreed. Well, you added some planeswalkers. Are you gonna make any room for that?
Yeah, we are getting rid of one of the planeswalkers in the deck. This is Garruk Relentless. It is 3 and a green for a starting loyalty of 3. It has a static ability that says when it has 2 or fewer loyalty counters on him, transform him. Has an ability we can pay 0. Garruk deals 3 damage to target creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to him. And another one where you can pay 0 to put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield. When it is transformed, it turns into Garruk the Veil Cursed. Has a +1 ability that says put a 1/1 black wolf creature token with death touch onto the battlefield. Has a -1, sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. And a -3 that says creatures you control gain trample and get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. To get all the cool stuff on the backside, you have to let this guy not die, but also get lower than what he is starting at, and you can't do it on your own unless you make that 2/2. You deal the 3 damage to the 2/2. The 2/2 then does damage to you. And now you've flipped Garruk the Veil Cursed with a starting loyalty of 1. You just got to kind of wait because you've already played the loyalty abilities of the turn. This is a bad Planeswalker.
Seems very slow. Yeah, I don't like it.
It's a very, very slow Planeswalker. Garruk Relentless, you're getting the axe.
So clever. Well, you mentioned that you were doing some strict upgrades in the removal package. What are those? What are you cutting?
Yeah, we talked about Wrath of God. Ondu Inversion was in this deck. It was 6 and 2 white for a sorcery. This is destroy all non-land permanents. I know Wrath of God is only destroying creatures, but for 8 mana, I'm not trying to destroy all non-land permanents because if I start destroying all my stuff too, that's not the best. Pongify was in the deck for 1 blue mana. It's an instant. This is destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. That creature's controller puts a 3/3 ape creature token into play. This is a fantastic include when you're not running white. If you're running blue, this is going to be in the deck because destroying creatures in blue is harder to do. But since we are 5 color, swords and path are just strictly better
I
because they're
agree.
exiling and not destroying.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of destroying instead of exiling, Hagra Mauling, 2 black, instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands. Destroy target creature. Again, swords and path are just better.
You also added some artifacts. So did you take any artifacts out?
I did. I took 2 artifacts out. They do the cute to brute thing, so I apologize if you are a fan of them, but I personally am not. First up is Azor's Gateway. It is 2 generic mana for a legendary artifact. As an ability, you can pay 1, tap it, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand. If cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs are exiled with Azor's Gateway, you gain 5 life. Untap Azor's Gateway and transform it. When it's transformed, it turns into Sanctum of the Sun. It is a legendary land. You can tap it to add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is your life total. That is a lot of mana. However, this is a lot better in, I would say, like a monocolor deck because you're making the one color. And I'm also not trying to exile my stuff.
Yeah.
So Azor's Gateway, cool concept, cool card. It's not making it in this deck. Elbrus, the Binding Blade, is also not going to make it into the deck. It is 7 generic mana for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach Elbrus, the Binding Blade, then transform it. It's got an equip cost of 1. When it's transformed, it turns into Withengar Unbound. It is a 13/13 legendary creature demon. It's got flying, intimidate, and trample, and says whenever a player loses the game, put 13 +1/+1 counters on Withengar Unbound. It's a very cool creature, but I tell you what, the 7 mana equipment to give something +1 is not good.
It's rough.
It is rough. And let's just say it does slip into the demon and someone swords the plowshare and it was a waste of mana
And time.
and time. So this is getting out of the deck.
Are there any other cards we're cutting?
There is one more card we're getting rid of. It is an enchantment. I didn't add any enchantments into this deck, but this one is not making it to the final cut. Legion's Landing, 1 white mana for a legendary enchantment. It says when it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink, and whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you transform Legion's Landing. When it's transformed, it turns into Adanto, the First Fort. The legendary land, you can tap it to add a white to your mana pool. You can also pay 2 and a white to tap it to create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. It's just not doing it for me. It's 1 mana that I can be spending elsewhere. I don't really care about 1/1 vampires with lifelink. It's not worth it.
I feel that, man. Well, is that all the cuts and everything?
That is going to do it. That is from Cute to Brute, the $100 upgrade. I hope that I did a good job.
I think you did pretty well, man. You at least gave it a direction. How about that?
I did give it a direction. Legends. We're going to be casting legends for free from the Prismatic Bridge, and that's what we're going to be doing. Going big legends, hitting your opponents for damage.
Love it. Well, in the spirit of our $100 upgrade, you're given $100. What did this upgrade come out to?
Well, after all of my additions, the total for this deck was $103.71. Yes, I know I went over by $3.71, but I feel like these were all super needed mana dorks and stuff like that to make 5-color really hum. So $3.71 isn't going to break the bank.
If you're committed to spending $100, I don't think $3 are gonna sway you one way or another, dude. So I think you're fine.
Yep.
Well, all right. Well, if anyone wants to see the full deck, Hunter has the Moxfield link in the description below. Also, while you're down there in the description, you can follow us on all of our social media. That is Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. It is all just at Guys at Magic. Leave Hunter a comment. Let him know what you think. Is there cards that you think would go better in this deck that he maybe overlooked? Maybe you just want to tell him good job. Make sure to like the video, subscribe so you can see when we drop the $300 video. I'm sure Hunter will be working on that right away. And until the next video, this is Guys at Magic. Bye.
Peace.